Hi, Dave. Just wanted your thought on Caleb Jones. I know that the first 3 days of camp, he was kind of skating by himself, but I guess, can you just talk about the protocols when you guys found out that he had tested positive and how important it was to kind of keep him away from the rest of the group?
Well, the protocols were followed to a T. When he came from Dallas, he was tested positive, and the doctors and the staff made sure that the protocols were followed exactly what was supposed to. He was cleared to come back and have contact the first day of camp, but protocols also have him coming into camp not at full strength. There's got to be some days where he works himself in. So that was the case, and he's today was the first day he's back with the big group and the whole group. And I haven't talked to the trainers yet. We'll see if he practices and takes part in a scrimmage tomorrow. I'm not sure if he's going to go that far yet, but it's good to have him back. He's been cleared to join us, and protocols have been all followed, and he had no symptoms, so he tested positive without any symptoms at all. So he's come back, he feels healthy, and he's ready to go.
Next question, Jim Matheson. Jim, as soon as your microphone is active, go ahead.
A couple of things, Dave. Why two groups today after one before? And the other question, James Neal, you have them on a line, different sort of line from most of the season with Chason and Jujar, and how you see him fitting there as opposed to maybe playing with Connor or Leon.
That line has been really good for us here. They were good the few games we played him before the pause, and they're three good veteran guys that are they have a playoff mindset right now. They're every day they've been really good in practice. They're competing hard, making sure they're very vocal guys. So I like what those guys are doing for us. I think they have a possibility of being a good line, and just with veteran leadership and guys with lots of between Neil and Chason, lots of playoff experience. As far as the two groups today, we wanted to break it in. We wanted lots of reps, and when you have 6 lines on the ice, it's harder to get full ice, lots of reps. We went shorter time period. We had 2 groups with the 3 lines and 6D. We had a couple of the D went double session, but you're trying to get as many reps as you can in some different things we're trying to accomplish. So the 2 smaller groups was a way to get more reps for everybody.
Next question for Ryan Rashad. Go ahead, Ryan.
Hey, Dave. The NHL and the PA spent a lot of time with their doctors putting these protocols in place for how to keep you guys, the players, everybody safe in this endeavor. Now that you've seen it firsthand, albeit this was a player coming in as opposed to a positive test once he was there, but you've seen it firsthand now. What's your sense of just kind of how thorough things are being handled and the level of safety that you and your sense that your players feel having seen it firsthand now?
Well, I can't speak for any other locations, but I think our guys have done a fantastic job. Players come in, they know exactly what the protocols are. Everybody has followed them to a T. The doctor's been here. TD and his staff have done an excellent job between testing and making sure all the protocols are being followed. So players have come to understand this is the way that we have to do things, and there's been haven't heard any grumbling about anything. It's come in, this is what we're doing, and they're focused on playing. So I've been very impressed how the organization has handled it throughout the building, on the ice, and all the protocols. And hopefully, knock on wood, we had the one case that Caleb came from Dallas, but other than that, we've been COVID-free out of the room, and hopefully we can stay that way.
Next question, Reed Wilkins. Reed, as soon as your microphone is active, go ahead.
Hi, Dave. A bit along the same line that Jim asked you, but Neil and Chason are with Kara right now. They've both played with McDavid and Draisaitl. Even Ennis, the short time he's been here, has had a bunch of different centers and different line assignments. how would you sum up your confidence level in the versatility group in the versatility of the forwards? And, as a coach, do you feel okay going into a game if I got a bunch of options here to find success as a game grinds on?
That's exactly what it is. And, there's a couple things you look at. You look at chemistry amongst players, the roles of that players play in. Special teams plays a big part of those roles, and they all form into the rhythm of your lineup. If you feel how a game is going to go through, how is the rhythm of your lines going to come to fruition? Do you have matchup lines, or you're looking to get away from certain matchups? Is there lines that you like to play in certain situations? So all those things go into building a lineup that you feel like can be successful. And when we put Neil and Chase on and JJ together, we were playing some games that were heavier games, and we talked about that's a line with good playoff experience. We wanted to try JJ at center. He actually does a real nice job down low in our zone. So we put the line together. They've come into camp and been very enthusiastic. They recognize the time of year and what's at stake, and they want to be good playoff players. So they've really kind of formed a bond in that line, and they've been good so far. But we like the versatility, whether it be from injury or players unfit to play, or just trying to shuffle things up. We feel like we have different options that we could look at on different lines, and we've had a lot of people play with each other, which gives them a confidence if they do switch a line, they have some familiarity there. So we like the depth of our forwards, and we'll see where it goes.
Next question, Daniel Nugent-Bowman. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hi, Dave. We certainly know that Caleb Jones is not an anomaly when it comes to positive tests, although he is one of the few players to actually disclose that. So I'm just curious what you think about that. It's obviously a very personal choice. And the fact that he's come from a hot spot in Texas, he says he doesn't even know where or how he got this. Does that, with all these teams coming up from hotspot areas, does this kind of give you a little bit of a concern about the viability of the tournament actually in the playoffs that is actually taking place?
I don't have the concern here, just because I know how well that we're doing things here. But there's concern all over. I mean, there's hot spots all over, so it's just not our player. But you have to respect Caleb. He came out. He was very upfront. When I first talked to him, he was, he said, "Hey, I tested positive, but I have no symptoms whatsoever. I don't feel any different from the day before." So, and I think there's been a lot of asymptomatic situations like that you just deal with, and you make sure you've got the protocols in place for their return. So I think it's probably a very personal thing. Some players would feel confident or feel it's not a big thing to them to say that, and others might want to keep it personal, and that's the individual player's choice, and you have to respect that choice.
Next question, Jason Gregor. Jason, go ahead as soon as your microphone's active.
Hi, Dave. Hope things are well. Dave, usually when you prepare for a series, maybe you have 4 days at the end of a regular season, then a few between. You've had 2 months. Have you gone even more in depth than you normally would on Chicago, or do you try not to look too deep with such an extended time, knowing who your opponent is?
No, we're more interested in what we're doing right now. We have obviously done some work, and once we found out who we're going to play, you're cognizant of that. But right now, I said it to our players: if we don't get ourselves up and play into the capability we can, it doesn't matter who we play. So we're more worried about how we're preparing right now and what we're going to do, and then as we get closer to August 1st, we'll have built in what we have to do to be ready to play Chicago.
Next question, Jim Matheson. Jim, go ahead.
Dave, you mentioned about your line with Jason and Neil and Barra. You have one guy on the line who kills penalties, and the other two guys play on the power play, maybe switching off as the net front presence. Does that make it good for a coach, or is it not good when you have two guys on a power play and one of them's on the power play and the other guy's not on the power play?
It probably depends how much special teams is in the game, but it's not bad because they all feel like they have a niche in the game, and as well as the 5-on-5. So, depending on how the game goes, lots of power plays and they get in action, and there are lots of special teams. They're all getting action, and if there's no special teams, they play well as a line. So that one, Jim, is it really. There's some games when they feel like they're very engaged because there's been a lot of special teams. Other times they might think that, they didn't get as much as they'd like because there wasn't enough special teams. So it really depends on how the game is going and a little bit of how the line is playing. If the line's playing real well, I've never met a coach yet that's had people that are playing really, really well and the coach didn't want to play them. So it's a lot of times up to the players.
Next question, Tony Brar. Tony, as soon as your microphone's active, you can ask your question.
Dave, a little bit of a two-part question here. First part is, how comforting is it to have guys like Oscar Klefbom and Adam Larsson who have the room, but they're also in a mentorship role with Philip Broberg? And the second question is, when you see guys like Broberg and Evan Bouchard and guys already on your roster with Caleb Jones and Ethan Bear, how much confidence does that instill to you as a coaching staff and management?
Well, I think it's a great situation for us because, like you say, we have some very good veteran guys that are good mentors. They're good people, and I think it helps that you got Klefbom and Larsson that are both from Sweden, and young Broberg from Sweden. I'm sure he looks up to them, knows them well. Young Broberg was staying at Larsson's house over here when he came over, so there's a real camaraderie there and a real mentorship that goes into that. And as an organization, you're very thankful for those things. But I like the way that our veteran people have really kind of helped our young players. You look at how much, Nurse and Bear have turned into a real good pair. And like you say, the other guys are younger guys coming in, and Jones and Bouchard and Lagesson. So we have a good mix. We have a good veteran mix, but we also have some good young guys pushing that. It's great to see when a veteran player recognizes a young player as a good player and they're willing to help them. That's when you know you've got good people in your organization.